Welcome back to the Spread Pick'em Show with Mike and Andrew. Andrew in a new location with the Gleyber Torres jersey and some other sports stuff in the background, looking very good. So week seven's over. I had I would say not so good week. You had a better week. You had a very good ending to the week. We'll do the review as we always do. We start with the Giants and Eagles, and of course, the Giants not only fail to win the game, they can't. The Eagles can't cover the spread either, so nothing good happens here. So the Eagles win by 1 point. We both lost because the Eagles were minus 4.5. Green Bay at Houston, we both were puzzled by this one. Green Bay won by a lot. We both took the Packers there. Detroit at Atlanta. Look, man, if Todd Gurley just went down, probably win that. I'm just saying.
Of course.
Well, do you win that? No, because, it was two and a
No,
half.
I wouldn't have. I actually needed him to score the touchdown.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess Todd was trying to do
I
you a
did. I was
favor,
paying
but still,
attention.
just a
Yeah.
bad loss once again by the Falcons. Dallas at Washington. I mean, we both took Dallas and felt pretty decent about it, but man, that team is pretty rough, and now it's Danucci time for the Cowboys. Buffalo at the Jets. The Jets cover their first spread of the year. Congrats to them. I told you later in the week I really wanted to change it to the Jets because they got Mims back and Becton and Darnold. I was like,
Yeah.
maybe this is the week, but no, too late. So we both took the Bills there, take the L. The Cleveland Browns. I will tell you what, the Cleveland Browns have played the Bengals twice this year, and I've gotten screwed on both spreads very badly. Thursday night was rough with the last-second touchdown to Boyd. Then this one, who's their kicker? Cody Parkey or something missed the extra point, and that resulted in a tie. So we both go with the tie there. I took the Browns. You took the Bengals. Carolina at New Orleans. Carolina put up a good fight. They lost by 3, I believe, 27-24. I took the Saints. You took the Panthers. They covered there. Pittsburgh at Tennessee. Tennessee almost came back, but we got Pittsburgh at a +1, so we won that one. Seattle at Arizona. This one was probably one of the best games of the year. I would say probably the best game of the year, honestly. Seattle looked like they had it. Metcalf had the overtime touchdown to what looked like a win by 6. Got called back because I think David Moore was holding. Then the field goal by the Cardinals. They get the dub there. Kansas City at Denver. Denver's offense, not good. But for someone that owned KC's defense and fantasy, I was happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good pickup. Now they play the Jets too, so that was a good 2-week investment on defense right there. San Francisco at New England. I took New England like an idiot. You went with San Francisco. Good job by you. New England just looks dead. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know if Cam Newton's feeling the effects of this COVID-19 or whatever it is, but something's going on there, and it's not good. Jacksonville at Los Angeles, the Chargers. The Chargers won by 10, I believe. We both took the Chargers, so they covered that. Then Tampa Bay at Las Vegas. We both took Tampa Bay. They looked very good. One of the most impressive teams last week, honestly. Now they play the Giants. We'll get into that later. Chicago at the Rams. We both went with Chicago. Usually you pick the Rams, so I'm kind of surprised by this. But Chicago put up, I think, 6 points in that game. Foles had the red zone interception, so yeah, not good.
It was okay for me. They won me fantasy. That defense won me fantasy football. So I'm all good.
Our favorite bets. So I took the Buccaneers. They covered, and then I took Seattle. They lost. You took the Bills. They did not cover, and you took the Eagles. We did not do well on the favorite bets. 1 and 3 overall.
After that, I was thinking, I actually put money on the Packers game, or my dad put money. My dad put money on the Packers game, and I was sitting there like, why didn't I make this one of my favorite bets? I don't know. I don't understand. So sorry if you guys bet off of what I said last week. I apologize.
Yeah, that's a big yikes. Before I screw up again, do I have this in the gallery view again or no? I think I did. Okay, good. All right, so now we'll get into week number 8 here. So our records, by the way, I'm 56, 47, and 2. Andrew is 54, 49, and 2. So once again, very close. I like how we're keeping this competitive throughout the year. Hopefully it stays that way. Once again, loser has to wear the opponent's team's jersey. So if Andrew wins, I wear a Carson Wentz jersey. If I win, he wears a I don't know what I'm going to give you, honestly. I don't have many Giants, current Giants jerseys,
I can wear
honestly.
one of Dylan's jerseys, brother.
Yeah, his brother is a Giants fan, so we might be able to work that out. I got a text from Moot, by the way. I might call him for the Falcons. He texted me to play Rocket League. That's not going to happen. All right.
He texted me as well.
We start with the Atlanta Falcons coming off that rough loss. Once again, they're at the Carolina Panthers Thursday night. The Panthers are a -2.5. Did I get that right? I feel like that's not right. Is it Carolina -2.5? Now I'm
Yes, it
second
is.
guessing myself. Okay, so Carolina minus 2.5. You go with Carolina. I took the Falcons. Why do you like Carolina?
Well, I've been riding and dying with Teddy Bridgewater the whole entire season. I've just said that Teddy Bridgewater is a guy that keeps you in games. That was mostly the reason I went with Carolina last week. And again, you saw another scenario where Teddy Bridgewater did keep them in the game and, won me that pick. Now, I don't think he just keeps them in the game. I actually think he wins them the game. Let's be honest for a second. Atlanta's not too good with game managers. They're good facing teams that either stink on offense or they stink on defense. Carolina's kind of average at both. They can run the ball well. They have a really surprisingly good wide receiver core over there that I really like on offense. And again, you got a guy like Teddy Bridgewater that doesn't mess up that much. He's a game manager. He gets the ball into the hands of his playmakers. And the defense isn't awful. I mean, it could be better, but they're going against the Falcons defense. So there's nothing really good about that either. I think they outright win this game, maybe by as much as a touchdown. I really like Carolina on this one.
All right, I'm going to go against you for the first game here. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. I always seem to lose on Thursday, so why not? Let's just go with the Falcons and ruin my hopes already. But, the Panthers defense does not scare me too much. And I feel like in a game where you're just asking the Falcons to lose by 2 or less, I feel like that's possible. Once again, McCaffrey looks like he's going to be out this game, so that definitely bodes well for me. I know the Falcons defense is not good whatsoever. I know that Brian Burns on the Panthers is emerging as a star and might get another sack or 2 on Matt Ryan, which would suck. But I really feel like the Falcons offense can do something good here. And I know Julio Jones has been a beast since coming back, and we know Calvin Ridley's great, and Hayden Hurst gets involved when he needs to, and maybe Todd Gurley will score not by accident this week and things like that. So while I do trust the Panthers to keep this one close, I think this is a game where Atlanta can outright win this one. I know Carolina's outdoors. They're at home. That definitely helps them. But, Atlanta's at least looked a little better since Dan Quinn hasn't been there. They honestly should be 2-0 since he got fired. So you have to take that into account. I feel like on a short week, it's a quick week to forget about what's happened on Sunday. You come back, you rebound, you play well, and hopefully they find a way. Should I call Moot and ask for his pick about this game? Because now I'm kind of curious. I feel like, should we get
Yeah,
Moot
why
on
not?
here?
But you
All
know
right,
what? I
let's.
feel like, honestly, Mike, I feel like your assessment of should be 2-0 isn't a good assessment when you're talking about the Falcons because they're known for blowing leads even when Dan Quinn was in the building. I'm just saying.
You're right. No, you're right. I don't think this kid's going to answer. We'll find out in a second. But he'll probably say the Falcons are going to win by 15 anyway. So
I told him I
not
was
even worth
recording
it.
at you, so he might just not answer based on that.
All right, we're going to go with no. That's a shame. But let's just say that he probably would have picked the Falcons. On the
Yeah.
Sunday's games, Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Baltimore's a -4 against the undefeated Steelers. Baltimore coming off a bye. We differ once again. I like Baltimore. You like the Steelers. Tell us why.
Well, I mean, as an Eagles fan that literally watches every single play of the Eagles game, no matter what, every single week, I know exactly how the Eagles played against both Pittsburgh and against Baltimore. And honestly, Baltimore was just, didn't look as good on defense as they did last year. Their defensive players kind of missing a step, I would say. I don't really know why. They don't really seem like the powerhouse that they should have been. Obviously, Calais Campbell has been just an absolute unit for them on defense, but Pittsburgh's undefeated. I mean, Pittsburgh is like one of the best teams in the NFL right now. I would put them higher than the Baltimore Ravens. So as soon as I saw this spread 3.5 in favor of the Ravens, I immediately picked Pittsburgh because not only do I think Pittsburgh can cover, I think they have a legitimate shot to win this game. It's an in-division game, which usually means it's going to be pretty close. Ben Roethlisberger's on the field, which is a big help for Pittsburgh. They kept it semi-close against the Ravens last year without Ben Roethlisberger. I'm excited to see how they do it this year with Ben Roethlisberger, who's having arguably one of the best seasons of his career stat-wise. He's just improving in every possible way. So I am going to go with Pittsburgh. I love the wide receiving core. If Deontay Johnson can stay on the field, I'm pretty sure he was on the injury report. I think he'll play. But even if Deontay Johnson goes down, they got a guy like Chase Claypool that could come up and make plays. So not really worried about that too much. I'm all over Pittsburgh.
All right. I mean, I love teams coming off the bye, so I'm going to go with the Ravens. I feel like in the beginning of the year, we all thought the Ravens were the better team. And although the Ravens haven't peaked yet, as I said, I feel like coming off this bye, it would be a good time to have their best performance of the season. They've had 2 weeks to prep for this game. Pittsburgh's coming off a pretty hard-fought game against Tennessee. I know they got out to like the 24-7 lead, whatever it was, but very hard-fought game. I just feel like Baltimore can do a lot on offense. I feel like this is the game where I know Devin Bush is out for Pittsburgh still. I feel like this is the game where maybe Lamar Jackson gets the deep ball going, because although Pittsburgh's defense looks good, they've given up some deep balls this year. And this might be a game where Marquise Brown finally gets going. He's had a lot of like deep targets that haven't been converted this year. So maybe this is the game where it happens. I still would take Pittsburgh's defense by a little bit, but Baltimore, they're not far behind, honestly. They got Yannick Ngakoue as well, which is a great addition for them. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with Baltimore. I could be wrong about this. It's two great teams. It should be a fun game to watch, but I like Baltimore here, honestly. So next we have, I think this is one of the 8 biggest spreads in the last, I forget how many years, 20 years maybe or something in the NFL. Obviously, it's that Jets and Chiefs game. It is the Jets at the Chiefs. So KC's a minus 19.5. Now, we differ on this one. The Jets covered their first game last week. I'm going with the Chiefs, and you're going with the Jets, and tell us why.
Well, I mean, you could just read out 19.5-point spread, and I think people would automatically just know the Jets are, going to be one of those teams in that spread. I mean, I don't know if the Jets have ever been 19.5 points favored, so I guess you would have to assume that they're automatically 19.5-point underdogs. But I am going to go with the Jets. Early on in the season, I did take the Jets. I think I took them week 1, maybe week 2, not too sure. But after that, my one rule was I'm not going back to the Jets until they prove me wrong. And what did they do last week, Mike? They proved me wrong. That's exactly what they did. I actually picked the Bills as a favorite bet against the Jets, and they proved me wrong there as well. So proved me wrong on my pockets, proved me wrong on this show. And I'm just going to pick them here. I'm going to keep riding with them here. I think Sam Darnold is literally the reason why they could cover this spread. I think you start to see maybe Kansas City go up by possibly 20 points late in the game. And who knows, Sam Darnold could just drive down the field against a second-string defense and score a touchdown with 30 seconds left in the game and cover the spread. I think that's a legitimate thing you could possibly see. I could also see them losing by 50. It's really that way with the Jets, but I am going to ride with the Jets this week at least one more time this season.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Jets, if they played in the second half the way they did in the first half of that Buffalo game, I'd probably say the Jets have enough life, but I think I heard on the radio that the Jets offense had 4 yards in the second half, which is not good. I mean, the Bills defense has been disappointing lately, and to get 4 yards in an entire half against that is not good. And I mean, the Chiefs defense, while it's not like at an elite level, they usually like play really well against bad teams. That's what the Jets are. Sam Darnold, while I like him from an upside standpoint, is very turnover prone. We see that week in and week out. This might be a time where once again he throws an interception and a pretty bad one, maybe a pick 6. So look, I mean, obviously it's a ton of points. I could obviously see the Jets covering this thing. It would not shock me whatsoever, but you have the Le'Veon Bell factor. They're going to try and get him as many touchdowns as possible. So they'll keep pouring it on. I don't see a reason why the Chiefs would just stop trying to pour it on here. The Chiefs haven't looked like dominant lately. I mean, of course, they beat the Bills pretty badly that one week, and they beat the Ravens, probably 4 weeks back. They look good, but I just feel like this is a game where the Jets defense, I mean, they're not good. Let's be honest. This is one of those games where Mecole Hardman's going to have a long touchdown probably, and Byron Pringle will get involved, and just all these random dudes. Like, I just feel like they'll just kill them. So I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs in that matchup. Next, we have Tennessee. They're at Cincinnati. I always struggle with Cincinnati. Like, I want to pick them. Tennessee's a minus 5.5, but we both decided to go with Tennessee here.
I think this is a fairly simple pick. If you watched any of that Tennessee-Pittsburgh game last week, Tennessee looked flat offensively to start the game. They really did. It looked like it was going to be a pretty dominant Pittsburgh win. But then again, you saw another team come back against Pittsburgh late in the game. You saw it with the Eagles. You saw it with Tennessee. I think there's one more team I'm forgetting where even the Giants, I mean, they kind of made it competitive there at the end. Didn't look too good at the start. But Tennessee looks great. I mean, they look great. They look great against Pittsburgh's defense, and now they go and play Cincinnati. You're not asking that much of them this week. They got a lot of deep threats. A.J. Brown has been an absolute tank. Trust me, I know. He ripped, I think, 27, maybe 30 points last week against me. They just have everything going for them right now, even with that loss. I mean, I don't think there's a loss of confidence in the Tennessee Titans even after they lose a game because, again, Pittsburgh's the only undefeated team left in the NFL, and they're playing at arguably one of the highest levels. So I don't think that's going to be a lack of confidence for anybody, coaching staff, players, whatever it is. I think Tennessee comes out here kind of not really a revenge game, but a comeback game after losing a very close game that they probably should have brought into overtime if it wasn't for Stephen Gostkowski. I say they probably win by 2 possessions.
Oh, all right. I feel like this might be close. Like really, I'm really just like split on this one. But I feel like the more likely outcome is that Tennessee probably gets off to a nice start. Now, I do like the Bengals offense, and look, I mean, we have to be honest. The Titans defense has been pretty damn disappointing this year, especially their secondary. So I mean, Joe Burrow has been doing pretty well this year. I know he has a lot of fumbles because they throw the ball a lot, and their offensive line is probably like one of the worst in the league. So I get it from that standpoint. But at the same time, I don't fear the Titans defense like I figured I would coming into the year. So I feel like there's potential for the Bengals to put up points there. They might not have Joe Mixon, which is definitely a positive for us. But Cincinnati's a team that does not stop the run very well, and I feel like this is a game where Derrick Henry is probably going to go off once again. It would be a good spot for it. And they, of course, you mentioned AJ Brown, who had no catches at halftime, comes out, scores a 75-yard touchdown, and continues to do his thing. So not a lot of high volume for him, but he can change a game in just one or two plays. And even a guy like Corey Davis is producing well for them as well on offense. And you can't forget about Jonnu Smith. So I like this Titans team more. I know Cincinnati's at home, so this might be a spot where maybe they kind of get off to a slow start and then find a way to get back in the second half. But I feel like, it's only, 5.5 points or so? Yeah, 5.5 points. I feel like they can win by a touchdown. So while I don't feel too confident in it, I will go with Tennessee as well. Next, we are on to your boys. I mean, both of your second and third favorite teams probably. Los Angeles Rams, your team from Hard Knocks, at the Tua-led Miami Dolphins. The Rams are a -3.5 on the road. I figured for sure you were going to go with the Dolphins. I'm disappointed, but we both like the Rams here.
Yeah, I am going to pick the Rams. And you're right, Miami, as soon as they announced that Tua became the starter, they have boosted into my top three favorite teams, obviously outside the Philadelphia Eagles. But yeah, I just like the Rams more. I mean, what they did on was it Sunday? Yeah, they played Monday. What they did against Monday not only got me hyped up from a fantasy standpoint, but got me hyped up for a Sean McVay and a Rams standpoint. I mean, they came out and they dominated the Chicago Bears, a team that actually looked pretty good the last few weeks. Me and you and I, we didn't buy into this Chicago Bear thing. And then the week before, they proved us wrong. And now this week, we're like, is it really a Chicago Bear thing anymore? Who knows? But LA, I've been riding them all year long, as you've been saying. They're one of the hard knock teams. Of course, I have to ride or die with them. But it was tough going against Tua and the Miami Dolphins, especially in Tua's debut. Don't really like going with the team that has a quarterback making his debut, especially in the first game, or debut, I just said that. But I will go with the Rams here, although I wouldn't be too mad if I lost this one, I have to be honest.
Oh, of course, yeah. I probably wouldn't bet this one in real life. I mean, usually I throw like a $1 like mega parlay for 1 o'clock game, so it'll be in there for me, but like not like an actual bet. But yeah, I mean, I don't like to bet against teams that have a rookie debut quarterback and especially like a top 5 pick like Tua was. So yeah, while it is concerning, and I know Miami's coming off a bye, which is good, and the Rams are coming off basically 6 days of rest compared to the 14 days of Miami. I mean, I'm kind of talking myself out of it now, but still, I trust Sean McVay here. This is a good spot. I know the Dolphins have some impressive names in their secondary of Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, and even what's the guy's name? The former Patriot guy, Rowe at safety. He's not too bad either. So, like, honestly, I could see the Rams struggling a bit on offense in this game, but like I just think they're a much more talented team. While I like Flores, they're probably still a bit better coached, honestly. So I know it's like the West Coast to East Coast thing, and it's less rest and all that stuff. But I mean, maybe this is a line where somehow the Dolphins find a way to win it. And as I said, against the first round quarterback, top 5 pick, it would not shock me too much. But I just feel like the Rams, talent wise, are a lot better. They are the better team. I expect them to cover this. It's only 3.5 points, so I will pick them. But once again, it's a little concerning. There's a lot of unknown here, so I'm actually very excited to see what Tua does in his debut. I'll be rooting for him. If he struggles, I'll be sure to come on here and make fun of you next week. But if not, that would be great. So hopefully he does well. Next, we're on to Indianapolis. They're at Detroit. Indianapolis is a -3 coming off a bye, I believe. Now, I ride with the Lions basically every week. You ride with the Colts every week. So pretty obvious what the outcome is going to be here. So you like the Colts. Tell us why.
I like the Colts because the Lions struggled offensively against the Falcons last week. I mean, what more is there to say? Now they're going up against the Colts defense. It's probably top 5 in the league, if not top 3 this year. I mean, they've been really, really good. They started out slow, but they've been up to the hype per se. And that's really all I have to say. I mean, I don't know what you could really say about the Lions right now that would make you feel confident about their ability to win games. I know last week they beat the Falcons. They came back and they beat them, but who hasn't done that at this point? Let's be honest here. I know you made the point, Dan Quinn wasn't there. It really doesn't matter to me. The Falcons are the Falcons. They're going to be the Falcons, whether Dan Quinn's there or not. So I am going to go with the Indianapolis Colts here. Not a big fan of Phillip Rivers. Not a big fan of him as much as I thought I would be at the beginning of the season, especially behind that great offensive line. But I think they ride the run here. I think Jonathan Taylor has a big game offensively, and I think that's how they get it done. But again, I'm really relying on the Colts defense to step up in this one and stop Matthew Stafford and the Lions.
Yeah, I still trust, I think the Colts are a good team, but I feel like they're kind of overrated at this point, and I feel like the Lions are still underrated. So with that thinking, I'm gonna go with the Lions here. Now, I don't know if the Lions are gonna win this game. I know it's a very short spread here of only 3 points. So I guess I could consider them alive to win this game. But when comparing quarterbacks here, I just feel like Stafford's been playing better than Phillip Rivers, honestly. And I know that Rivers is not this mobile quarterback, and the Lions' pass rush is not the greatest, but they have some guys like Okwara and Flowers that can get to him. So I guess it is possible. I don't know about do you know if Okuda's going to play, and even what the hell is the other guy's name, the cornerback from the Falcons, Trufant? I don't know if those guys are healthy right now.
I'm not sure. They've been on the injury report this week.
Yeah, I feel like every week they're on the injury report, so we'll see, which would be big for them. But I will acknowledge the Colts defense is better, but as I've always said, I'm just a fan of the Lions offense a lot. Galladay's been a monster, obviously. Hawkinson's been great. Now, the Colts are really good at guarding tight ends this year. That's something to watch out for Hawkinson, but I guess he can have maybe a touchdown in there at some point. And even I like them implementing DeAndre Swift more. He's obviously a lot better than the 35-year-old AP, so I do like that for their offense. So I feel like the Lions can put up enough points here. I can see the Lions outright winning this game. And me being more of a Lions guy than a Colts guy, in my heart, I kind of want it to happen. So hopefully it does. Maybe if they win this game comfortably, I'll start to buy into the Colts, but I'm not there yet. So with that said, I'll go with the Lions here. Next, we have the New England Patriots, one of the tricky – honestly, these are two very tricky teams to get a gauge on. But the Patriots, they're at Buffalo. Buffalo is a -3.5. I just put 3.5. Didn't even put a plus or minus, but now -3.5. We both like Buffalo, though.
Yeah, I am going to go Buffalo, but you always have to – there's always that risk factor with not only the Buffalo Bills, but with Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen really has either a good game or he just has an awful game where you're like, wow, this guy's an NFL quarterback. I mean, he's had that game before where he just misses a ton of throws. And when he misses throws, thank God they're nowhere close to anybody, or else they probably would be picked off half the time, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, I am going to go with the Buffalo Bills. This is another team where in the New England Patriots where you really have nothing going for you right now. If you were betting a game, you really have nothing to go off of. They haven't had success with their quarterbacks. The coach and the quarterback, I'm pretty sure they're getting along. But, when you're used to, as a coach, when you're used to a quarterback that goes out there and plays the same every single week, week in and week out, and then go to a guy like Cam Newton, who's really inconsistent, that can be tough for game planning because you don't really know what you're going to get out of him that week. You don't know what kind of player you're going to get. So based off of that, Buffalo's just a better built team at the moment. They're better coached than the New England Patriots, as crazy as that sounds. I think they're more disciplined. I haven't seen as much discipline as I would like to from the New England Patriots. A lot of unnecessary penalties. Maybe that's a Tom Brady thing. I'm not really sure. I don't really know how penalties could be a Tom Brady thing or lack of penalties, whatever you want to call it. But I am going to go with Buffalo here. 3.5 seems suspiciously low for me.
You're right. Maybe they don't have Tom Brady to yell at them. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe Cam's a bit too laid back compared to Tom Brady. Here's the thing, though. The fact that Cam Newton's been playing like an XFL quarterback the last 2 weeks, it's just really hard for me to back that team. But if Cam was playing like he was the first few games of the year, I would probably take New England here because, honestly, the Bills' defense against the run has been atrocious this season. So, the Patriots obviously want to run the ball. If they can do it, then they might win this game. But for how bad Newton has looked, why wouldn't you stack the box if you're Buffalo and force this guy to beat you who looks like he can't throw a ball, So I think Josh Allen, while he struggled more lately, is still not as bad as Cam Newton right now. And I feel like they have a lot more weapons. Stephon Diggs is just probably 10 times better than anyone the Patriots have. I mean, maybe Julian Edelman, but still, he's like 34 now and hasn't been that great aside from that one Seattle game. So I don't trust the the Patriots offense whatsoever. I still think the Bills defense could be good because they have good names and good talent there. So maybe they get their what together at some point here. But I just feel like for how bad Cam Newton's been, it's just not possible for me to back them right now. I wish Buffalo was playing better, and maybe this is a game where they finally bounce back. But I just there's no reason to take New England, so I'll go with Buffalo as well. Next, we are on to Las Vegas. They are at the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are a -2.5. So we both like the Browns here. Baker Mayfield looking like a stud last week, so I love to see that. But we both like the Browns here, and tell us why.
You say Baker Mayfield looked like a stud. I think without Odell Beckham, he's going to look like a stud. And I mean, he was without Odell Beckham for a good amount of that game last week. And you're right, he did look really good. And I think that actually helps getting a playmaker out of that team. Obviously, that's not the way you want him out because that was a gruesome injury. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Odell lovers and haters that watch this video. But look, I mean, he plays better without Odell Beckham. As crazy as that sounds, without one of the best playmakers at the wide receiver position in the NFL, he plays better because he forces the ball way too much in clutch situations to his best people. And I know that's exactly what you want to do as a quarterback, get it in the hands of your playmakers, but not when they're not open, like not when you can't find a window to throw, them to. So it just doesn't make sense to me the way he's been forcing Odell the ball. So I actually think now that they get some new receivers in there, whether it's Rashard Higgins or some other people, maybe they incorporate some more running backs in the passing game, which is what I actually want to see from them. I think Cleveland wins this game, but Las Vegas has been very impressive, and they've been very impressive in games that they're not favored, and that's a real thing. Last week they weren't favored against they weren't favorites, I should say, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but if they somehow win that game or cover that spread, that's like three major quarterbacks, like Hall of Fame talent quarterbacks that they have somehow found a way to beat. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and I'm blanking out on one.
Some other guy.
Drew Brees.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah.
Those are quarterbacks that the Raiders have played well against. So it does scare me a little bit there, but I do think Baker Mayfield looks like himself from last week without Odell Beckham.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic for sure about the whole Beckham thing. I've had that conspiracy like during the offseason. I'm like, maybe he's better when he's not forcing the ball to a guy. Because honestly, when I think Baker is looking like scanning the field and just looking for the open guy rather than saying I have to force it to a guy, definitely helps him mentally, in my opinion. I know they have like Harrison Bryant now. I don't know if they're going to get Austin Hooper back from the appendectomy thing, but maybe they do. I know they have Rashard Higgins, as you mentioned. Donovan Peoples-Jones made his like debut, basically got his first catch, a big touchdown at the end. So the Browns are playing with house money here. I know Nick Chubb is still out, and Kareem Hunt did look good last week, of course. So I think the Browns offense should be fine here. The Raiders are not a defense that scares me too much, honestly, so that should be okay. But the Raiders offense, we talked about them a little bit. Derek Carr, for how much like crap I give him, as I said, he's looked good this year. I think their offense with Ruggs looks a lot better. And who's that guy? What's his name? Aguilar? He looks pretty good. All of a sudden, he looks pretty good all of a sudden. I mean, he still drops passes sometimes.
He still drops a pass in that game.
Yeah, I know. He's still making plays, though. I mean, maybe his confidence isn't shattered being benched for the Eagles now. You know what I mean? Maybe they're actually giving him some confidence here, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, covering Darren Waller is definitely tough, obviously. I mean, Josh Jacobs is in a bounce back spot here against a run defense that's probably not that good. So I could see the Raiders putting up points here, but I'm very interested to see what this Browns offense looks like in a full week without Odell Beckham. I think Beckham played every game last year, so we didn't see Baker without him. And Baker was at his best back in 2018 with no Odell. So maybe he gets back to that version of himself. And having Jarvis Landry, of course, is big because he can convert third downs and find ways to get open. So it'll be a fun matchup. And I do trust the Browns offensive line. I think both offensive lines are really good here, but the Browns defensive line is a lot better than the Raiders. So I think the Browns have that advantage there. Of course, Myles Garrett's been playing out of his mind this year. So, I mean, he'll probably find a way to get to Derek Carr a couple times at least. So I will trust the Browns to win this one. I guess I'm not super confident because the spread is kind of low and these teams are pretty even in my opinion, but I like the Browns at home. We'll take them. Next is Minnesota at Green Bay, one of the few games we disagree on this week. Green Bay is a -6.5 at home. I like the Vikings, and you like the Packers.
Well, of course you like the Vikings. I mean, they're coming off a bye. That's really all you need to do if you're Mr. Mike Too Nice here. But yeah, I am going to go with the Green Bay Packers. Again, not really much of a confidence standpoint. If you're going to go and pick the Minnesota Vikings, I'm pretty sure the main factor that you picked them again is because they are coming off a bye. And look, that's a legitimate argument. I mean, it really is. When coaches have time to game plan and players have time to rest, they are better on the field. I mean, it's statistically proven. But when you're playing a Hall of Fame quarterback that is playing out of his mind lately, it's hard to do. And especially if the line is only one possession. Now, usually if it's 7.5, 8, or 7, as it is now, I usually like to go with the other team. But when you're the Green Bay Packers, whose, pass force has just been unbelievable, I mean, how could you not? And let's be honest here. The Vikings kind of admitted that they're rebuilding. I mean, that Yannick Ngakoue trade kind of states that we made a mistake here. We're not exactly the team that we thought we would be. We're going to a rebuild, and now they're not going to get as much pressure defensively, especially on the line. I think they're getting Aaron Jones back this week. I'm not too sure. He still is on the injury report. I think he's half and half, maybe a game time decision. But I do trust Green Bay here. That was a big performance from them last week against the Texans, and I don't think the Vikings defense is much better. So I guess we'll have to see.
I don't know if the Vikings defense is as bad as the Texans, but they are much better. I will give you that. Other than the bye, which we know is something I love to go off of, my main reason for picking the Vikings here is because they'll have Dalvin Cook back, and the what's his name? The Packers defense not good against running backs, and I feel like they'll be able to control this clock and they'll be able to at least keep it close. I do not trust the Vikings defense all that much, but in these divisional matchups, sometimes you see close games when they aren't supposed to be close, and this could be an instance of it. And once again, the bye helps that for sure. I know the Packers went to Houston and just beat the crap out of the Texans, but that was a game where they came off that embarrassing loss against Tampa. I'm sure they're not as fired up for this one, so maybe they come back down to earth here. I feel like Minnesota once again will have a good game on the ground here. While I don't think running backs matter too much, you can tell that Dalvin Cook is a big difference maker compared to Alexander Madison right now. I mean, at least from the way he looked against the Falcons. So, I will go with them. And, of course, you can't forget about Thielen and Jefferson. They can make plays. I mean, I know Jair Alexander has been unbelievable this year. I get that. But, I mean, it's not like the Packers are unbeatable in the secondary. So I think Kirk Cousins, while he's not that good, he'll find a way to at least cover 6.5. So I will take the Vikings. I don't love it, but for the sake of the show, I will take the Vikings. Next, we are on to the Los Angeles Chargers at the Denver Broncos. The Chargers are only -3.5. I figured it'd be more, but we both like the Chargers there.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting. Drew Lock has done worse with Pat Shurmur than he did last year, which is, kind of surprising because I know you as a Giants fan, you really like Drew Lock with the idea that Pat Shurmur would coach him. And it's kind of weird that they're not working together here. They got to get things going before I start picking the Denver Broncos again. I love Drew Lock as much as you do, but he's not playing at a high level, and that's really it. And guess who is playing at a high level? The guy on the other side of the field, Justin Herbert. I mean, he's playing incredible, arguably better than Joe Burrow. I don't really know if you can argue that. I think he is playing better than Joe Burrow at the moment. And I think Los Angeles as a team, they are playing pretty good football. Again, would like to see a little more from their defense. I think their defense was a little overhyped per se going into this season. Would like to see a little bit more defensively, especially in the run stopping business. But I do like LA against Denver. Again, really nothing to go off of if you are going to pick Denver in this game. But another Hard Knocks team, that's an easy pick for me.
I am concerned because I was told on Twitter that Justin Herbert's not good because he's 1-4 as a starter. So maybe I'm just picking a bad quarterback here. But anyway. Oh, God. But yeah, I mean, Denver, as much as I liked Drew Lock's upside, he's not looked good whatsoever. He throws that flat-footed pick six against the Chiefs, and I was just like, come on, man, you cannot do that. Yeah. So the Chargers defense is not as good as I thought it would be coming into the year, but the only good part about Denver's defense is stopping the run. They really can't cover the pass, and it's not like, the Chargers now with Eckler out and Melvin Gordon for Denver now. They don't really control the ground too much unless Justin Herbert's going to run. So like I feel like Herbert might have another 350-yard passing yard game or something like that. So as long as Herbert continues to play at this level, which is possible against a secondary that's not good, then I think it is possible for the Chargers to pull away and put up a lot of points here. Of course, there could be a lot of turnovers here. It's two young quarterbacks and things like that. But I think Herbert's a lot better right now. I think this Chargers offense looks really good. I know they played Jacksonville last week, but even against some good teams like the Saints and even the Chiefs in his debut, they look good. So I will go with the Chargers there. I don't really trust Drew Lock and the Broncos right now, but I hope for his sake he turns it around because, as I said, I think Drew Lock seems like an awesome dude. So I do hope he turns it around at some point. Next is New Orleans at Chicago, another line that confused me. New Orleans is a -4.5. Now, I don't think Michael Thomas is going to play. Emmanuel Sanders probably won't play either. Marquez Callaway got hurt. So, like, I don't know how many receiving options the Saints have at this point, but I really don't care because, Nick Foles and Drew Brees, it's that comparison. But the Bears might not have Allen Robinson. That's a big part of this game, who has a concussion from Monday. So he has one less day to recover from that and pass protocol. If he was playing, I might be more, entitled to pick the Bears here. But without Allen Robinson, like, how the hell are they going to do anything offensively? I like David Montgomery in fantasy. The guy's not good. So let's be honest. I feel like the Saints are probably going to win this game if Robinson doesn't play, and I feel like they can do it by more than 5 points.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 2,000%. I mean, you're completely right. The thing that does scare me is, Drew Brees hasn't had Michael Thomas for the majority of the season. We know that. But he has had a guy like Emmanuel Sanders there who can go deep. And that does scare me because even though Drew Brees hasn't been throwing deep, at this point in his career as much as he used to, he still likes having the deep route available for a guy like Emmanuel Sanders just to open up more things down the middle of the field. So it does scare me a little bit, but you're right. I mean, losing Allen Robinson has to be the biggest loss offensively that the Chicago Bears could possibly have at this point in the season. Maybe David Montgomery, you can argue if he got hurt, but I think Allen Robinson is more valuable. I mean, let's take a look at Allen Robinson's career real quick. He's played with Blake Bortles and Nick Foles and Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, wow, quite the quarterback trio there. And he's played at a high level with all three of them. So that's a huge loss for the Chicago Bears, especially coming off a loss where you couldn't get anything going offensively. You were trying to force balls up, which is something that Nick Foles does do from time to time and does have fairly good success. But if you don't have a guy like Allen Robinson there, who are you really throwing up to? Anthony Miller, who, I do have to give you props for most of your fantasy football sleeper video, but he was just not one of them. I mean, he hasn't been good either. He's been dropping passes for my fantasy team. But yeah, I am going to go with New Orleans here, even though it is a little scary offensively for them.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm actually curious to go over the fantasy video. Like, I feel like I had some really good picks, but I also said like Kenyon Drake was a breakout player. Same with Odell. So like there are some
Freezing
misses
cold
in there
takes
for sure. Yeah, we will go over those at some point probably. But yeah, I mean for this game, I kind of got into it earlier. I just feel like without Allen Robinson, like what the hell can the Bears really do? I mean the Saints run defense is still really good. They haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher in like forever. So I mean I feel like Montgomery's not going to be the guy to do that, and he can't even break a long run anyway. So I feel like that's not going to happen. So yeah, I trust Drew Brees over Nick Foles, of course, and I think the Saints defense it might not be as good as the Bears, but it's close enough. And I feel like the offenses are not really that close, especially with Robinson out. So I'm going to go with the Saints here. I feel pretty confident. It might be one of my favorite bets, honestly, but we'll get into that later. Next, we have the 49ers. They are at the Seahawks. Seahawks are a -2.5, and we both like the Seahawks.
Yeah, I do like the Seahawks. But one thing that does concern me with the Seahawks is there are a lot of close games with the Seahawks, which is partly why I think Vegas went with such a low line here, even though I know San Francisco's been picking it up lately. But let's be honest, they beat the Cam Newton New England Patriots, and we all know Cam Newton has been playing that well. So as good as San Francisco has been in the last few games, they're not as good as the Seattle Seahawks, and that's just the bottom line. Seattle's just good all over the field. They lost that Arizona game, or not all over the field, I should say, because they stink defensively. Offensively, all over the field, they're good. But in that Arizona game, they lost because of mental errors and penalties. You got a field goal that the Arizona Cardinals are taking, and the guy jumps over the the long snapper or the center, and now they score a touchdown on that drive instead of kicking a field goal. That's the win right there. That might not be enough to cover the spread, but that's the win. And the fact that Vegas put a 3.5 point favorite for the Seahawks against the Cardinals and only a 2.5 point favorite against the 49ers means that they're kind of thinking along that same line that maybe these games are a little too close for their liking. But I am still going to go with Seattle. Put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands, and the man will make plays. But you got to give him a little bit of help on defense. Can't make these mental errors all the time. But I am going to go with Seattle.
Yeah, you bring up mental errors, and I mean, how many times do we see Russell Wilson throw 3 interceptions, 2 in the end zone, 1 nearly being a pick six if it wasn't for Metcalf making an insane hustle play, and then of course the 1 in overtime to Isaiah Simmons of all people. Wow! But the reason I like the Seahawks in this game is because I love Russell Wilson, who is amazing. We all love him. And the Seahawks have like no running backs basically. Like Chris Carson's going to be out this game. Carlos Hyde has a hamstring injury. Travis Homer, I think, has another knee injury. So we're talking about like DJ Dallas being the only running back there. And Dallas really couldn't pass block in that game, which I guess is a concern. But maybe the Seahawks say, screw it, we'll just put a tight end in the backfield and just pass the ball 70 times. Like, if you're going to give Russell Wilson that opportunity, I'm going to take it. Like, I feel like the Niners have some injuries of their own, especially at running back as well. So a lot of running back injuries in this game. But the Niners offensively, I feel like, are not as good as the Seahawks. Of course, I love some of the Niners pieces. I think Ayuk might have a chance to step up here with Deebo Samuel out. And, of course, George Kittle is amazing. So there is stuff to watch out for. And I don't know if Jamal Adams is back yet for the Seahawks, honestly. I wish I knew that one. But if he was back, that would be a way to kind of take out George Kittle possibly of the game. So if he is playing, that would be huge. But I like Seattle a lot in this game. This is also like one of my favorite ones. And Seattle's home. It's only, have to win by 3 points or more. I don't see them losing back to back. I know they have a lot of injuries at the running back position, but as I said, let Russell Wilson throw the ball 60, 70 times and good things will happen. Next, we're on to Sunday Night Football and the Philadelphia Eagles. They are home against the Dallas Cowboys. They're home against the Dallas Cowboys, and the Eagles are a -8 against, what's his name? Ben DiNucci? Is that his name?
Ben DiNucci, the James
Ben
Madison
DiNucci.
quarterback.
Yeah, and you said he was actually kind of good. So, I mean, I guess you might know about him, but yeah. Good in college. Okay. Well, is that good in NFL or no? Like, we got to have an answer here.
When you're usually good in a Division II college, usually like if NFL prospects or NFL scouts think you're going to be good, usually don't get drafted in the 7th round. I'll tell you that.
Fair enough. All right. So we both like the Eagles. We're agreeing on a lot of these later games here, but we both like the Eagles here. Outside of the obvious with, Dallas having no quarterback, what other reasons do you like the Eagles here?
Well, I mean, it's a big thing to factor out that they don't have a quarterback, but, if you're going to force me to do so, I will find another reason. And I will say it's because of the offensive line. And, you got a guy in there that's had a good offensive line in college. I mean, that's what he's used to. He's used to having an elite level offensive line, especially, at that Division II level. And now you're putting him in a situation where the Cowboys arguably have one of the worst offensive lines we've seen in Dallas since probably a decade or so. I mean, this Dallas offensive line, they really stink. And, people were saying that Andy Dalton wasn't going to be that bad for Dallas because he has a great team around him. But does he really have a great team around him if the offensive line can't hold for anything? I don't really know. I think you might see a lot of throw-ups in this game from Ben DiNucci trying to do a lot, trying to just extend plays any way he possibly can, and I can't really blame him for that. But I think that's really going to be where the Eagles' defense possibly shines. I think they win the turnover margin by maybe 2, possibly 3 in this game, and I think that's really going to be the difference. But what I do like about Ben DiNucci is he's got that chip on his shoulder. I love when players have the chip on their shoulder where no one believes in them. And maybe that's not enough to win the game, but maybe it is enough to win the spread. But they looked awful against Washington. I mean, let's just take it. They looked bad. I mean, this is a bad football team. And I know the Eagles like to keep it close in a lot of their games. They haven't had a blowout win so far this season. But yeah, I just have nothing to go off of for the Dallas Cowboys here. And just saying, he lost that national championship, Ben DiNucci, but he lost against Trey Lance. So we got to give him some credit. I know you love Trey Lance. I may have introduced you to Trey Lance because I love Trey Lance. But yeah, I mean, he's not that bad.
Yeah. I guess losing to Trey Lance is not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, I mean the Eagles, I kind of like the direction they're going, especially if they get healthier. I don't know if Miles Sanders is back this game or whatever, and I think
Rager.
Rager's going to be back as I mentioned. Yeah. So yeah, if they can get some guys back healthy, I kind of like Philly here for sure. I think they're going to win the NFC East honestly, unless Wentz somehow gets hurt. But if he's healthy, they'll be all right, and I think they'll win. I know you're kind of like you don't want that to
Don't scare
happen,
me with that
obviously,
one.
but no, I like the Eagles in this game as well. I don't really know what to think of this DiNucci guy, but I mean, Dallas's offense, if you can put up 3 points against Washington, like you really can't be that good. I know Washington has a pretty good pass rush and things like that, but the Eagles pass rush is not terrible either. So they can once again get after DiNucci here. And I think Philly's offense is finally coming around. Dallas has almost no pass rush this year, so Wentz will have basically all day. He can just buy time in the pocket, which is what he's good at. Can throw some nice passes on the run to guys like Richard Rodgers. Who knows? But they'll find ways to make it work, honestly. And I just feel like Dallas has no life right now. I feel like none of the guys want to play for Mike McCarthy, who's a garbage coach, and I feel like they're just not going to put up much of a fight here. So maybe I'm wrong, but I like the Eagles here a lot. There's a lot more better vibes around the Eagles right now, so I will
Yeah.
take them to win this game. I think they win this game by 10 or more, so I'll take them to cover
Yeah,
the
you
8.
talk about the defensive line. I mean, they just dropped Dontari Poe. Like they just cut him. That's
Yeah,
another
exactly.
and
Yeah.
they traded
Griffin.
Everson Griffin. I mean,
Yeah.
that's big. I mean, it's huge. It's another team
Right.
that watch out, rebuild time.
Maybe. We'll see. Lastly, we're on to Monday Night Football. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at my New York Giants. Tampa Bay's a minus 10.5. I was going to take the Giants just to go against you, but then the more I thought about this game, I was just like, nah, I can't live with myself doing that. So we both like Tampa here, and tell us why. By the way, Chris Godwin is out of this game with the finger injury, so that's one
Oh,
major
trust me,
injury
we know,
here,
we know.
but they have other guys, so get into it.
Well, just saying, guys, I tried my hardest to persuade your guy to get some optimism in this game because I don't like, all this negative energy around the New York Giants and, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Does that mean I'm going to take the New York Giants? Hell no. I'm still going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are arguably playing like the best team in football. And this is actually a game where I actually looked at the Giants schedule and I said to myself, wow, I want to go to this game. I would single-handedly spend $150 to $200 to go watch a team play that I don't even like just to see Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, this is history. Tom Brady is playing for another team. This is like history. And, I had a chance to see it this year. Obviously, COVID had different ideas. But again, I mean, this Tampa Bay team is playing great offensively and defensively. I mean, I think that's the most underrated thing about the Buccaneers is their defense. Everybody's looking at Tom Brady, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Ronald Jones, but they're ignoring the fact that they have some really, really good players on defense, and they have a really good defense. The Giants, unfortunately, don't really score that many points offensively. They really don't, but they do have to mix things up here. I think this is where Jason Garrett has to prove himself. He has to get a little unique with the play calling here, has to switch up the design a little bit, stop doing these little short routes. Let Daniel Jones play. I mean, come on. You want this guy to win your franchise position, but you're not giving him the opportunity to do so because you're not letting him roam free. Let the guy roam free. I get it. Mike's criticism on him is that he makes the big turnovers and he can't make the big plays. Well, let him make the big plays. Let him air it out a couple times. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? This guy is basically fighting for his job at this point. 10.5, that's a good number for the Buccaneers. I'm sorry, Giants fans, but I'm picking against you again.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't blame you. As we know, the Buccaneers' run defense is like one of the best in football. Even
Yeah.
without Vita Vea, they find a way to be like amazing. And the Giants might not have Devontae Freeman. Wayne Gallman looked good, but I just feel like they'll have no running game whatsoever. So you're putting a lot of this on Daniel Jones, who has a guy in Andrew Thomas blocking for him and a guy in Cam Fleming against guys like Shaquille Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul. And I think we all know how that's going to turn out. You have bad tackles. I mean, Cam Fleming's been all right, but you have one tackle playing like the worst in the NFL, two great pass rushers, a quarterback that fumbles the ball and turns the ball over more than anybody. What do you think is going to happen? Like I really don't see a way the Giants like put up a fight in this game. Like I think the Giants, they keep games close for the most part, and like maybe they find a way to cover here. I don't think the Giants are alive to win this game, but I mean, I guess crazier things have happened. But Tom Brady, I mean, look, he doesn't forget things. He knows what the Giants did to him, and I'm sure he wants to come out and put up a good performance. It's Monday Night Football, and Tom Brady, as I said, does not forget. A lot of people come into the year, all the Buccaneers are all hyped, they're all talk. I mean, he's been playing like an MVP so far, let's be honest. So the Giants defense, it's decent. It's not terrible. I think there's a chance they might put up a good fight here, but for how good Brady's been, how good Tampa's offensive line's been, I think I'll have enough time to make throws here. And whether it's Scotty Miller or Tyler Johnson, I don't think Antonio Brown can be active for this game. That would be awesome to watch. But Mike Evans, of course, you can't forget about the Evans versus Bradbury matchup. Should be fun. They used to face off a lot from the NFC South. But, I don't know. I don't trust the Giants offense enough. And the Buccaneers defense, it is legit. And I just don't know how the Giants score many points in this game. I mean, we talk about 10.5. I don't know if the Giants are going to score more than 10 in this game. So, that's a legit concern for me. I mean, maybe they get some, fourth quarter garbage points. But honestly, scoring on this team is tough. So I think it's going to be a tough game for them, honestly. So hopefully they win. That would be awesome, but I just don't see it happening.
I will say this. If they lose, if the Buccaneers somehow lose, just watch out. I don't think Tom Brady is going to be midfield shaking hands. Just so you know.
Probably not. No, why would
he only does it when they win. What a scumbag.
All right, come on. I mean, whatever. All right, give me your 2 favorite bets this week.
My 2 favorite bets. I was completely wrong. I'm gonna take a little bit of a less risky route here. I'm gonna take the LA Rams covering 3.5 against the Miami Dolphins, and then I'll go with the New Orleans Saints covering 4.5 against the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, we agree on one of those. I'm going to take the Saints as well, minus 4.5. I'm under the impression that Robinson might not play, and then hopefully for our sake he doesn't play, because I feel like the Saints would easily cover this if that's the case. And then for the Chargers, I will take them as well for the second week in a row. I feel like I've taken the Chargers a lot recently. I took them in that Buccaneers game where they covered by half a point, which was nice, but they were up 24-3. I took the Chargers last week as well. They covered. So they've been good to me so far, and I'll stay on them here. I think this is a good number against the Denver offense that has not been good whatsoever. So maybe Drew Lock comes out of nowhere and puts up a good performance, but until I see it, I'm not going to believe it. Justin Herbert's been playing like an MVP. I say, why not? He's playing a bad secondary. I think it could happen once again. So that'll do it. Any final thoughts here, Andrew?
A little surprised no one went with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
10.5 is a lot. If they were 6.5, I'd be all over them. But that's a lot of points. And look, the Giants have played tight games this year. I mean, it's not like the Giants are the freaking Jets and just getting blown out. At least they put up some fight. So, well, I think it's going to be the matchup does not favor the Giants in any way whatsoever. But I think 10.5 is a lot. So I'm personally going to avoid that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys watching, and we will talk to you next week. Good luck to all the bettors out there, and hopefully we get our picks right. But we'll talk to you guys next week, and thank you for watching.